Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy summer solstice or winter solstice to those who are coming anywhere from the Australia, New Zealand, etc. But yes, happy day today. It is beautiful, sunny here where I am. Not having to worry about the smoke as bad as it was the last time. But yes, today we are talking about to understand and respect the different decluttering and organizing styles within your family. So, with that, so she just said, so I'm literally upstairs and we hear the music downstairs and everyone's freaked out. Took me a minute to go, oh, Heather's on. Yes, good morning, family. Yes, Heather is on. Respect is, yes, you're right. Respect is such a big word, especially when it becomes, it's a big word, especially when you're not only expecting it for yourself, but you're having to do it for others. I think that's where, like, we can be like, they need to respect my wishes or they need to, but it's like, but are you doing it for them? So this is why our today's thing is okay, coming into those conflicts, because there's going to be conflict. We do things differently than people in our family. We do things differently than people outside of our family, kind of thing. So it's okay, so how do we adjust? How do we respect and understand the differences that we bring to the table when it comes to cleaning or organizing or decluttering? Because it makes a big difference for the stressors. It makes a big difference to get things done. It makes a huge difference in just knowing that, that respect. Like, so when you respect someone's space, that yes, okay, it's not exactly how you would want it done, but you're going to respect your children's space, your teen space, your partner space, any other adult that's in the home space, because it is theirs. It is, you understand that, yes, okay, fine. They're not, I would totally do it differently, but this is their space and I need to respect it. And I need to, honor the fact that they are different, because you know what? When we come together with differences, it makes it, I don't know, like when you're in a group and if you all had the same idea, it doesn't make any sense. Like, okay, cool. Well, I'll go with this one idea. Great, no problem. But when you have people that come in with different ideas, it allows you to collaborate in a different way. It allows you to build your thing. And it's the same thing with, cleaning and organizing and decluttering, is when you have people that have different ways of doing things, your way may not always be the most efficient way. So if you allow yourself to understand the other party's way of doing things, maybe it makes sense for them because that's the way their brain works. Let's just be honest here. Maybe that's the way their brain works. Not everyone, yes, you may be the person that, as soon as you do this and blah, 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 et cetera, and this is how this should go and everything has its spot and you have containers filled with whatever. Somebody may not work like that because you know what? Some people might be out of sight, out of mind. Because if you've got somebody that is out of sight, out of mind, well, I've definitely known people like that where they put something away. They don't go looking for it thinking like, the next time they want it. So they go end up buying another one, out of sight, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. So with them, it needs to be on display maybe. Like let's even just go with, tools in the garage, okay? If you had a whole entire cabinet, and yes, most people are like, oh, well, just open the cabinet. Yeah, you're right. Some people, it's just that easy. Just open the cabinet and go look what you have. Other people, it's like, do I remember I have that? Whatever, blah, blah. And they've got so much going on. They don't even take the time to open the cabinet, whatever. They're at the store. They know this is what I needed. Cool. And they grab it. And now they end up with 2 or 3 or 4. I've seen it many times where, being out of the client's houses where it ends up being like 4 or 5 of the exact same thing. And I'm like, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a list. But yeah, and it's understanding that, not everything what is Miss Jess saying? So I believe everywhere is a home for everything. I don't put myself or my stuff in boxes. Well, technically, my dear, you are putting stuff in boxes right now, actually. So that for right now is not wholly true. But but yeah, and so like it's a matter of understanding, like, and just different styles that yes may clash with yours, but again, come together and figure out like whether you have to have a meeting about it and say, listen, it's really stressing me out that I see all of your stuff all over your desk. Like I can't even work at my own desk or whatever. Like let's say you're sharing a space or whatever. Is there a way that you guys can, collaborate in the sense of, okay, if you can't look at the stuff and, whatever and work, whatever, what about turning the desk so that you're not actually facing the other person's desk? What about putting it somewhere where, just being able to, so that it's not in your line of sight when you're trying to work? Like there's just simple things where that person still, obviously has to respect the fact that, okay, my desk is a little messy. Let me just clean it up a little bit. So there's, maybe they put in things in little piles. It's still there. They can still see it. But they're respecting the fact of, okay, yeah, I can't have 3 mugs of old coffee, plates, this, that, whatever else is on the desk. Like I've encountered many, many different styles that people have, partners have tried to work in the same office. And then you also have to understand that maybe that doesn't work for you and you actually have to have 2 separate spaces. Again, going back to last episode, talking about how everyone, needs their own separate space, whether that's even with your office, your workspace, if you have both of you working from home or even one of you working from home and the other one doesn't, and maybe that person that doesn't work from home can put their stuff in a different room because they're not always at it, whereas you need the space, need to close door, whatever the case. Yes, you did manifest this opportunity to box and declutter. I love the emoji at the end, the eye roll. I'm gonna say that is, I can almost feel the eye roll all the way up here in Canada. I can almost feel it. But yeah, so another thing is think about it. Okay, you adjust to how people show their love for you. Like we talk about the 5 love languages. Well, yours might be 2 and the other person might be another 2. Well, you're not going to force the person to show you how to do certain things and how they whatever. You adjust to, and that their way of showing their love for you is different than the way you would show it. And it's still the same thing in just different ways. And that's how it is with decluttering and organizing. Your way of doing it might be different than theirs, but the end result is still there. You still want to declutter. You still want to get things organized. It's just you have to understand that, not everyone's going to do it your way and you're not going to do it everyone else's way. So even with that, and then big one, here's another big one, forcing your kids to do it your way. That I have seen multiple times where parents expect their kids to have the same level of cleanliness, organization, decluttering, get rid of stuff as the adults. You can't expect that, especially the young ones. Because first of all, their brains do not even close to work like ours do. Their brains don't have the, ability to understand the consequences. If I leave this food out and if I leave this drink over here and what could happen if I, what they don't have that. They just go, oh, I'm done with it. And wherever they're done with it, they get it, it gets left there kind of deal. So as an adult, trying to force them to always be your way, put the things exactly how you would, do exactly how you would as the adult, it's not going to work for the child and it's not going to work for you because it's going to cause so many arguments. But what I suggest is learn how they do things. Take some time knowing you are going to have to bite your tongue like nobody's business because it is not exactly how you would do it. I've had to do that with my daughter and my son. Like I learned, it took me a while and I wish I'd, realized this earlier, but I had to step back and let them do their rooms themselves because I had to figure out what kind of person are you to when it comes to cleaning rooms up. Like, kid you not, the best way to do things for my kids is, hey, you got somebody coming over. You can't have them over until your room's clean. Boom. All of a sudden, it's like they can do 10 days worth of work within a matter of like 20 minutes. Fine. Okay. You didn't want to do that, while You had the time, but now that you have only 20 minutes before you want this person over, you're willing to do it? All right, fine. I'm like, cool. But watching how they do things, like, so my daughter, she's a combination. So she has bins, but then she also likes things out. So it's a really odd combination. But in her bins, very neat and tidy. It's not just like a bin and I'm just going to throw everything in. Whereas my son is bin, I'm just going to throw everything in. Like right now, he, instead of putting his clothing away, like the last time we all did our clothing, he just shoved it in these baskets. And I was like, fine. I have to let you do that because your brain's just not even comprehending that you want to actually take that 5-10 minutes out and put it up in your closet, do whatever. But the funny thing is, first of all, those clothing are like wrinkled beyond belief. And I'm just like, oh my God. But he also is like, I can't find any underwear. I'm like, well, you would be able to find underwear had you put all of this stuff away properly. I said, you've got those baskets. That's on you now. So it's respecting the fact that, okay, he wanted to do it his way. But I also have to understand, I could have gone in there and I could have, taken the clothes out and put them away properly. I'm not going to do that for myself anymore. I'm done. I'm done doing that. He's old enough. He's whatever. The natural consequences are you're going to have wrinkly clothes, or you're going to take that extra 5-10 minutes looking for that pair of underwear because it's somewhere at the bottom of the basket that you shoved it, a week or two ago. Natural consequences come with certain times with the kids. And that's what we have to, as adults, understand. Like, I could have forced him to do it. I could have stressed him out. I could have stressed myself out, yelled at him, put your clothes away, do this. But I just was like, okay, cool. You want to do it your way? I'm going to step back because he's learning his own independence. He's learning the way he goes through the world as well. So I have to step so far back. And it's hard. It is hard. I'm not going to deny it. It was hard for me to be like, you're shoving it in a basket. I know it's going to get wrinkly. I know this is going to be, I'm like, but again, it's respecting his choice. It's understanding that at the time, he just wanted to do whatever and to be able to just get out. I said, okay. But also understanding that 2 weeks later, or a week later, as he's, looking for something, that's on you, kiddo. You have no one else to, get mad over or anything like that because you made that choice. And here's the consequence of your choice. Your clothes are wrinkly as anything. But it is very hard. And it's very stressful to try and force your children to be the neat and tidy and organized people that you maybe as an adult are, because it stresses you out. It stresses the kids out. It stresses whatever. But if you adjust to how they work, because maybe they don't work in the way that you do. Maybe their brain is. They're more of a, let's put it in the closet and I'll shut the closet kind of thing. Maybe I need some things out because otherwise I forget, like out of sight, out of mind. That's where a lot of, people come into this. This is why they have things out. And this is why they display things. And this is why they have certain things out. That detachment is the hard part. Oh, absolutely. There is no ifs, ands, or buts that the detaching from our expectations for our children to match ours, because naturally that's what we're going to do because that's what we know. But they're their own human beings. They're their own little person. They're trying to figure out their own ways of moving through this world. And if we keep pushing them to do it our way, they're never going to know what their way is. They're going to grow up. Let's say, okay, so my mother, she was not the best. Again, I think I remember saying this one of the episodes prior, but my mom used to take her arm, like when my desk was messy. So according to her, it was messy, but it really wasn't. Like I could just show you what my current desk is right now. And it was just like about that. So I've got a few things on. I've got my mirror that I was just doing my makeup on. I've got nail polish out and a bowl from this morning's breakfast. I haven't done anything with it yet because I knew I had to do the show and whatever. And I was like, okay, I'll deal with that later. Whereas my mom would come in, see that, and she would take her arms and she would throw the stuff off the table onto the floor. My stubborn self was like, what did that do? You just made a mess of the floor now. And I, the stubborn one, I always left it on the floor. Great. My desk is now cleaned, but the floor is a mess. And I would leave it. And that's random stuff that would have been on the floor. Like absolute random, like some books, some this. I don't even remember what else would like picture frames. This I always had picture frames on my desk. Like holding the thing holding your pencils and stuff like that. That was like sprawled out all over the floor, and I would leave it. So my mom was trying to force me to do things her way by literally trying like forcing me to clean off my desk in her way that she knew how to deal with it somehow. And it only stressed her out more because I was so stubborn. And I was like, "That was dumb. Like, why would you do that?" I always clean my desk, like, and that's the thing, like, I always kept my desk relatively clean. Like, there was no, um I'm trying to think of what I didn't keep clean. But again, it was just my mom forcing me to be so anal retentive like her because she was always about the looks, always about the presentation. It always had to be perfect because at least if it looked perfect, I could hide that I don't have the perfect life behind it. And I think that's where a lot of when I've looked at or been at houses and when I had the cleaning company and stuff like that, you looked at houses that were just too pristine and too well done and too like there's a spectrum of like hoarding to OCD to clean to whatever. What do you and both spectrum like you kind of want to be on the middle, but both ends of the spectrum there are underlining factors to why that is the way they are. Like underlining factors to hoarders. It absolutely is psychological. Underlining factors to the OCD, everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be, I can't have dust here. I can't do this. That's another psychological factor. Being in the middle of understanding, okay, yes, there's a little bit of clutter today. Am I going to let it ruin my day? Am I going to let it ruin my family's day? Or are we going to say, hey, tomorrow after school, everybody's going to take half hour. We're going to take all our stuff and we're going to put it away in our room. It's adjusting to those and respecting the fact that, yes, as much as we want everything clean and done right now, okay, is everyone in the mood to do it? Did your son or daughter or husband or wife or whatever just come home, have a crap day at work or school, and now you're forcing them to clean the way you want it to be clean? Or do we all talk together and say, hey, when can we do this together so that everything gets done in a timely manner and that, we're prepared for it? And that's the thing. Like a lot of it is preparing kids, let alone adults, for this is what's to come. This is what we need to do. Here's the time. Here's what we're going to do. And here's how much time we're going to spend on it. It's interesting how parental habits when it comes to cleaning and organizing will affect children as adults. It really could go either way. Absolutely. I know you and I, Jessica, have talked about this actually, where when a parent, so I know I had my parents do this as well to me, mostly again, my mom, but when I was at school, would clean out my room and throw things out and do whatever and blah, blah, blah. And that could have gone both ways. And I know I've seen people where it goes when they become adults, well, because they didn't have a choice when they were a child, they now get to choose, and they're going to choose to keep everything because of the emotional trauma. I'm going to say the emotional trauma, because when you come home as a kid and all of a sudden you're looking for something and your parents like, oh, I threw that out. It's like, well, why'd you throw that out? That was mine. That was like, why didn't I get a choice? And this is why I say never, ever, 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 ever declutter, reorganize without the children there. Because of the fact that can absolutely cause a little bit here and there and add up in the trauma for the child as an adult, because they didn't get a choice as a kid. So now they're going to choose as an adult, and they might choose to hoard everything. They might choose to not be attached to anything. They might choose to just not care about anything. Because why should they? Because the moment they care about something, somebody's going to throw it away. The moment somebody cares about something, it's going to go disappear. That's the kind of crap that gets put. And this is why I'm saying don't ever do this without your children, because they have a say. You have to empower them to have that say. You have to respect the fact that they get a say. Even at 2 years old, allow them to say, hey, do you want this toy or this toy? Only give them two options. Okay, they want this toy. Cool. This is going to go to another little boy or girl. This toy or that toy. And only do that like a couple times at 2 years old. They have that choice still. You're empowering them to have a say in their lives. even if it is just a matter of 5 toys. Yep, I hold on to everything now because of that, and that's it. That's exactly what it's become, is because, you know, when our parents force something upon us as we're kids, naturally, as we grow older, we want to rebel. And sometimes rebelling means keeping everything because everything got thrown away. Or rebelling could mean now you've got, you know what, late teen, early 20-year-old on their own, and their place is a disaster because they don't want to clean anything. They don't want to because they basically want to stick it to the parent that, force them to always do this every day and have to have something so prim and proper and perfect and this, that, whatever. There are so many ways that this can go. And this is why, I say, don't ever do any of this without all parties involved, unless the party gives you permission to say, hey, listen, I just don't feel like going through my clothes or whatever. You know what I wear, you know what I, like, and you know what fits me in this, that. Please go through that. And then, whatever. Because they may just having a stressful day at work, or might be just not in the mood to do that while they're doing something else. But don't do it without that person's permission. Like, again, I've seen it so many times where partners, husband, wife, or wife, husband, kind of thing, they'll do it for the other person. And the other person's like, but I wanted that. Or that was my favorite XYZ. And you just threw it out. Well, it was broken. It was this. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It was still mine. Like, why'd you throw it out? And that causes that conflict. So again, it's what do you do in that situation? Well, first, you don't do anything without that person knowing. Never. Whether it's the child, whether it's the teen, whether it's the adult. You don't do it without them knowing. And that's the respect you have to provide. And again, the same respect you would expect is people aren't just going to throw your stuff out without you knowing, or declutter, or give it away. Oh, well, I haven't seen you wear that in forever. Well, I was waiting for a special occasion. Well, yeah, it's fine. The other person will wear it more regularly than you. Like, it's really having that understanding, that respect that, yes, as much as you want something a certain way, as much as they want something a certain way, it's coming together and understanding, okay, you want it this way. I don't like boxes everywhere, but how about we find something? And even if it is finding nice, like with my daughter, what we did was, she liked putting certain things in baskets. So I was like, well, all right, fine. That's cool. So what we ended up doing was we found very nice baskets, and she has 4 of them now. And that's where she puts certain things that she just doesn't want out as a display, but she still wants. And even in those baskets, it's still neat and tidy. So I'm like, all right, cool. No problem. I'm okay with that. I did that for a boyfriend one time, thinking I was helping out, and ended up finding some disturbing things. 0 stars. Do not recommend. Okay. Note to self, ladies and gentlemen, and do not. Oh my God, I can only imagine. Like, okay, see, and that's another thing. I'm like, it's just, I don't know. We're going to have to talk about this after the show, Miss Jessica, of what it actually was or whatever. But that's the thing. Like, so you're gonna, find stuff that maybe you don't want to find, like Jessica did for her boyfriend. Or you're maybe going to find things that, again, journals or whatever that is personal to them. You have to respect that. Don't just throw that out just because it's filled. Like, and that was another thing that I remember my mom used to do. Like, it was a filled journal, or like, the notebook was full, so she just tossed it. Well, it's not like you were going to use it anymore. I'm like, but I like looking back and seeing and doing whatever. No, she just threw it out. Actually, I guarantee you she read it first. There's no doubt about that. She would read it first and then throw it out. But that's the thing. Like, as parents, as the adults, as the more mature ones, we have to respect that of our children. We have to respect that they are wanting a little bit of privacy. Now, do you have boundaries with that? Absolutely. Do you have boundaries that, okay, you can keep, your little diary, and here's a lock for your diary. Mom and dad won't read it, or mom, whatever the parental figures are, won't read it. It is yours. If you're noticing a change, and you have to say this to the child, like, if I'm noticing that something is very drastically different with you, is very whatever, we're going to go through that diary because there's something in there that maybe you were going through. Like, maybe they're going through a tough time. Maybe they're trying to, whatever. Or but understand that they know that what your boundaries are and that they're willing to respect that. Okay, if we feel that you're getting in trouble, or we feel we're going to have to say no to that diary, we're going to have to, or no to whatever the case may be. Like, again, it's all about boundaries. It's all about understanding and respecting the other person's privacy, understanding the person's belongings, but also coming to an understanding together, because you all live under the same house, under the same roof. You all have to share this space. It can't just be, 9 times out of 10, I've heard, that mom is the one that has decorated everything and, it's all the way that she wants it. Well, that may not be the best thing for everybody. Like, I even could tell you right now, my house right now is mostly decorated based on what I've done. And I've asked the kids, okay, do you want this? Do you want that? Whatever. We've got, paintings that the kids have helped with. Like, I'm trying to, but again, there's just that one person. It may not be mom, it could be dad, or it could be whoever else, but there's usually that main person that has the house in a certain way, and everyone else just kind of has to follow. But that causes issues as well. But again, it's including the kids, it's including the other adults, and just saying, hey, does this work for you? Well, no, it doesn't actually. I need a basket at the front door for all my stuff for when I first come in. Okay, cool. Here you go. Put a basket there. It's still neat and tidy for that person who needs things neat and tidy, but it's also in one place, still kind of open so the person knows it's there, but all parties, whatever, as opposed to that person still putting the stuff out on, let's say you had a table at the front and constantly putting the stuff there, and it looks, dirty or untidy and stuff like that, and it drives both parties crazy. So that party will take it away, put it away in the closet. The person's go looking for the keys, looking for their wallet. Where the heck is it? Oh, it's away in the closet. Well, why is it there? I can't remember. I'm always losing it. It causes those battles that are not needed. Whereas if we proactively go and ask the entire unit that's in the household, what do you need as soon, at the front door? My daughter used to always put her bag on the floor. I said, okay. So we put a bar with little hooks, and she gets to put it on there now. It's adjusting to everybody's. Does it look the cleanest and neatest for me? No. But is it the messiest that it used to be? Absolutely not anymore. Because we adjusted. We both adjusted. She still does that. That's her thing. I allowed her to have that, but I made it a little neater to help me. My son does one way as well. Like, he just comes in, brings his bag into his room. He does certain things differently, and it's the shoes. The shoes, like, okay, are we going to put it in the closet? Or are we going to put it outside? Are we going to do this? So I made, I'm somebody who puts my shoes away in the closet. My kids don't always, and then especially when they have friends over, it's like shoes end up fly. Like, I don't know, they just flip them over their head or something like that. But I've made it hey guys, put the shoes. I've given you a spot. It's not in the closet, but I've given you a spot that you know where your shoes are and stuff. Please do that. And that's a form of respect. I've told them in advance, okay, I've adjusted to you, but please at least make it a little neater so I'm not tripping over shoes. And that's the main reason why I put those shoes, is so I'm not tripping, about to break my neck. And even their friends, actually, like, even the friends know, and they'll look around, they'll be like, oh, and they'll put the shoes neat and tidy. So it's not a major difference. It's just adjusting my expectations and adjusting their expectations and matching them up together so that everyone is happy and there's less stress, more organization, less clutter, all that stuff. Yeah. And then just keeping it simple. I think that's the biggest thing, is keeping it super simple. Because the more complicated we make it, the more likely it's not going to be used. Whether it's a organization system, whether you have a family command center and you've made it so complicated that whoever looks at it is like, whoa, that's way too much information all at once. I can't even. Keeping it simple, like, let's say a family command center you do have, and if you don't know what a family command center, just Google it. And if you need to, or whatever, if you want, just let me know, and I can actually do an episode of that in August, because I've already got, or I guess that would be in September. Oh, maybe we'll do that for September, because I've already got the next 4 episodes figured out. But yeah, like a family command center is basically like one area where everybody goes where they look for whether there's a chore or whether there is, a calendar of events happening or whatever. So our family command center, which is what I'm going to call it, but it's actually our hallway. So on one side, it has the calendar, a 3-month calendar, or 3-month calendars, plural. And then the other side is things that we need to get done. Or and I'm talking okay, I want to, clean the garage, or I want to big items, or just upcoming things that need to happen. And then I've got everyone's responsibility based on them. So I've got my son, my daughter, and myself. And then I've got things that need to be purchased for the children. So my son said the other day, he's like, I'm running out of shorts that actually fit me. I need new shorts. And same with my daughter. I was like, cool, no problem. So both of them under there have shorts. When I purchase it or whatever, we check it off, it's done, or we wipe it off because it's a wipe erase board as well. So, okay. So how do you approach a conversation with someone so that you're not offending them for their style of organizing, but knowing someone needs to change also? Okay, so with that, I'm just trying to think of trying to give an offhand example of that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, Jess, the second part of that is, but they need to change. What needs to change and why? That's a question that I'm going to ask you now, and hopefully you'll put it in the chat. Just because it's is it changing because it bothers you? Does it need to change because they're not being productive, they're not being efficient, there's just stuff everywhere or whatever? Or is it change because what's currently happening is not helping them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, type of thing? Because it depends. What we think needs to change sometimes is our perception of what is going on. It's not necessarily that they need to change. No, of course, I'm not saying that. I don't know what the true example is of this one, but it's, as far as I thought with, either one of my kids, it's you guys need to change, your way of doing things. And I'm thinking to myself, or I change my perception of how they do things, and then it works better for both of us. And that's what I did. I had a perception that, my kids should do this, 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 and this. And then when I changed my perception on it, it was okay, this is how you work about it. This is how you think about it. So how can both of us come together and compromise and verbalize, have the conversation? That's the thing. Always having that conversation, never just trying to change them without telling them, listen, these are the reasons this needs to happen. I'm noticing that you're not getting stuff done, that you're constantly late for this, that you're constantly not, you're irritable, you're whatever the case may be. And that might be the irritability and the grumpiness, all that stuff could be because of the clutter that's in their room, because our room is a reflection of what's coming, what's on the inside kind of deal. So if they're constantly cluttered and they're constantly, not caring about things in your room, there's something going on internally. And this is actually, like I said, what will be going on for the next 4 episodes is talking about the mind, the body, the soul, and the home, and going specifically what that means and what I actually why I did those as my, it's the mental clutter, that's the physical clutter, it's the emotional clutter, and it's the spiritual clutter. Those are 4 main areas that we gather clutter from. And if we're not clearing those spaces out, and I'll give you examples of how to in those episodes and stuff like that, but that's one of the things. It's okay, if this is a constant thing, if this is just a once-off, one-time thing, not a huge deal. But if you're noticing a pattern that, yes, okay, every time this person's room is so cluttered, they're angry, they're irritable, they won't listen, they have behavioral things, whatever. That's when the conversation has to happen. Saying, listen, I'm noticing that every time your room gets super cluttered or out of place and out of whack, out of things that aren't organized, you can't find things. I'm noticing that drives you crazy. And you may not know that, But here's where I've noticed you're this, you're that, every morning it's harder to wake you up in the mornings now. It's, you're not wanting to do things anymore. Like, is there something else going on that I can support you with so that we can keep this and maintain it in the way that we had discussed 2 months ago, that we had discussed 6 months ago? Is there a way that I can help you? Can I help you? Do you need, extra hand? Do you need me to be in the room with you as you do it, just so that you can have that conversation? And because that's sometimes another thing too, is having a conversation or doing it with somebody just allows that like extra helping hand slash extra distraction, so that you're doing things. And I don't know, I know this happens with me a lot of times, as you're cleaning or as you're listening to music and you're cleaning, whatever, you're off in your own little world type of thing. But as you're having those conversations with somebody, or as you're doing it with somebody, you can have those conversations, talk about it, and it doesn't become so overwhelming, so daunting, so like, oh my God, I have to do this again. It just becomes, okay, let's do this for half an hour, and then we'll see where we are from there, and then see what needs to be adjusted after that. So, okay. So yeah, I'm saying a person has to change, just more the logistics have to change. Oh, I'm not saying the person has to change, just the more logistics. Okay, so then that just becomes having that conversation with them, like just saying, hey, this is what I've noticed. Like, we discussed this before. We said, these are the things we said. These are the things we compromised on. But I'm noticing that it's clearly not working. Do we need to adjust it again? Do we need to, come back to the drawing table and figure out a better way that, maybe, because again, what worked 6 months ago may not be working right now. Things in our lives change drastically. Like, we can listen, a month ago, life has changed drastically in your family. And that's a matter of, okay, this is what we're doing. And it's also embracing the in-between parts too. So when you notice that the person's getting, has clutter, has whatever, it's embracing that in-between, because you know that there is going to be that in-between stage. There's going to be the crazy clutter, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all that stuff. But having the conversation opens up the opportunity for them to say something that maybe they didn't feel comfortable saying before. Maybe it opens up the opportunity for them to say, listen, I'm really struggling. You know what? You're right. I'm not doing that. I need help. It's, again, the communication part. And that is a huge factor. And that's been like, a huge thing with even just me and my kids, trying to open that communication line up, because it's like, guys, I know you guys are going through things that I'll never understand, because you are in a generation that I'm never going to be in. You, like, the age you are and the way that you are and the way you're being, exposed to certain things or whatever. Like, hi, I'm from the generation that we didn't even have computers until like whatever, like I'm older than Google type of thing. Like, there's just things that, understanding. And like I said, coming back to that conversation and saying, hey, this is what I'm noticing. And what I notice, is what I'm noticing correct? Or is it not? Can we change it? How can I support you better in changing this habit, in changing this ways, in changing the logistics of it? How can I help you so that both of us can move forward in better mental space with this particular topic? So that is basically like, so again, it's making sure that you're understanding what the styles, and again, styles can change. People can go from that, let's shove it in a closet type of thing, to all of a sudden some life happened and they now want to clear out that closet completely and do whatever, etc. And again, it's changing and adjusting. It's understanding that person, and it's, doing it as a unit together. And the decluttering part. Okay, there's even different styles of decluttering. Can you sit there and just declutter for hours upon hours upon hours until it's done? Or do you need to do it like what I do with, people, is Pomodoro style? Do you need to do it for 45 minutes, take that 15-minute break? Do it for 45 minutes, take that 15-minute break. Because guess what? There are some people that can do the hours upon hours and be very focused and know exactly what needs to get done, blah, blah. And then there's people that can open up a box and get distracted from how many memes have we seen? Let me just tell you, how many memes have we seen was, oh, I was cleaning my room and I opened a box, and 2 hours later, and then they've got this like crazy Halloween masquerade type mask on, and they're playing with some old toy and whatever. It's the same with us. It's the same with kids. Oh my God, do you know how many times? So we just cleaned out our sporting equipment thing out in the garage not too long ago. It's probably maybe a month ago. Can I just tell you, it entertains me. This thing has been in there for ages, has been whatever. But all of a sudden now my daughter wants to play with it. And I'm like, really? So I was like, fine. If you want this, then you have to give up something else. And that's usually how it works with us is, all right, this is what you're saying you want to keep, even though you haven't played with it in a year or more. Well, I didn't know it was in here. Why didn't you look? I'm like, are you saying that we shouldn't have this? Because we just use laundry basket because we've just got so many sporting, and they're usually bigger, like bats and badminton racks and all that stuff. But I'm like, are you saying that we should, downsize to smaller things so you know where things are? Should I change the containers? Like, no. I just need to actually, go in it. And I'm like, okay. But if you're not going to play with something, if I don't see you playing with it over the next, by the time winter comes again, then yeah, I'm probably going to get rid of it. Okay. And that was the boundary. That was the understanding between her and I is, okay, if you're not going to play with this for the next 6 months, you're not going to play with it. Let's be honest here. And she agreed. She's like, okay, if I don't play with it, then whatever. And then of course she ended up playing with it. So I was like, fine, we kept it. But it's things like that. It's just a matter of having the discussion, understanding that everyone does things differently. They don't always do it your way. Try not to force people to do it your way, just like you would not want somebody to try and force you to do it their way. We already have enough of that with bosses and all that stuff where, we have to do things a certain way. Well, let's come together as a family unit, everyone who's under that roof saying, hey, this is how I like to do things. How do you like to do it? And how do you like to do it? You prefer the box way. Cool. You prefer the closet way. All right. I prefer being able to see things because I cannot remember if I have it if I don't see it. Or I'll think I lost it if I can't see it. How can we make it so that all of us are happy? All of us keep this space clean and neat and tidy. And we're not all, oh, I lost my keys and spending half an hour looking for your keys because, somebody else moved them because they didn't like the fact that they could see. It's a matter of that. And again, it's getting into the topic of things change. 6 months down the road, you might be moving houses and you might have to adjust again. And you might have to go doing that all over again of, okay, and it's a habit that you built before. And now it's a habit you have to do again. This is all about habits. What is your habit as soon as you walk in the door? Well, my daughter's habit, like I said, was putting her bag right on the floor. Well, I hated that. So I said, okay, your habit is to come in, put your bag on the floor. Can we do it so that you put your bag in a little neater, tidier, I'm not going to trip over it way? Yeah, I think I could do that. And did it take her some time to do that? Yes. Did it take me to remind her sometimes? Yes. Does she still put her shoes in a weird way? And I'm like, Elizabeth, can you put your shoes away? Oh, right. And she puts her shoes away, where we've designated the shoes to go so that nobody's tripping on them again. It's just adjusting and understanding that, wait a second, listen. I'd be a big fan of just lighting it all on fire if that was acceptable. Well, listen, sometimes that is acceptable in certain circumstances, like having so many papers. I remember one year, we had an outdoor bonfire fire pit type thing. And for taxes, we only have to keep every 7 years, I believe it is. So every year I did my taxes, and the 8th year, whatever, I'd be like, throw it in. So I totally understand. Where that, I would like to just throw it in the bonfire type of thing and burn it all. Totally get it. But again, not always the best solution, especially, when it's stuff you actually will want. But yes, I do understand that, well, my biggest thing is I actually would prefer the I Dream of Jeannie part where, she blinks and, oh, there, it's all done. Exactly how you wanted it, how you thought it to be done by the end. Yeah, that's what I truly want. Apparently, still working on that skill. But yeah, so next episode is going to be July 5th, Wednesday, July 5th at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And we're going to go over the mind, body, soul, and home. But the main topic for that episode is going to be the mind. That's the one we're going to start with. Mind clutter, mind, all that stuff, what to do with it. What does it look like? How do we see it in others? How do we notice it in ourselves? And then things that we can do to help ourselves and help others clear out that clutter and more. And then, so yeah, like I said, we're starting with the mind, then we'll go to the body, then the soul, then the home. So thank you for joining me, and thank you, Jessica, for all of your insights. I am about to message you about that ex-boyfriend situation, because I do want to. That's going to be a funny, entertaining moment. But yes, a Harry Potter or Dream of Genie moment. Exactly. We all need those moments, because there are times where we just. It's a lot of work, but you know what? It is worth it in the end. It is worth it in the end to have those conversations with your family. It is worth it in the end to understand them, and it does build that respect. The children will respect you, not forcing the things on them, but they'll also respect you and trying to do harder, because they're not stressed out. They're not pissed off at you. They're more receptive to that feedback than they were if you were to just throw it out for them. So talk to you later, guys. Enjoy the summer/winter, whatever side of the earth you are on. And yeah, we will talk to you in 2 weeks.